Hello and welcome to this week's edition of CTN Community Update. It's Severe Weather Awareness Week in Minnesota, but Winter Weather Awareness Week seems more appropriate this year. On Thursday, the outdoor warning siren sounded across the state for Tornado Drill Day. A drill in the afternoon is designed to give schools and businesses a chance to practice their severe weather plans. A second drill in the evening is aimed at second shift workers and families. Winter's continued grip is starting to take a toll on the spring sports season. The Cardinal tennis team cleared the snow from the outdoor courts this week in order to play their first game of the season. But the baseball and softball teams aren't as fortunate and continue to practice indoors for now. This week, the Minnesota State High School League approved a change that will allow for shortened doubleheader games. By agreement of both schools, teams may play 2 back-to-back 5-inning games during the regular season. The snow and cold is once again delaying spring fire hydrant flushing. Crews were hoping to start the work early next week, but it now looks like it could be late April or early May before the process begins. As part of routine maintenance, 1,500 hydrants will be flushed this spring, mainly south and west of Highway 10. Larger community meetings on school attendance boundary proposals begin next week in District 11. All 5 high schools will host a meeting. The first one takes place on Wednesday, April 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Coon Rapids High School. Meetings will follow at Blaine, Champlin Park, Anoka, and Andover High Schools. Here in Coon Rapids, there's 1 boundary proposal for elementary schools and 3 proposals for middle schools. There's no changes at the high school level. For more information, including maps, log on to District 11's website. Social studies got a lot more interesting at Anoka High School this week. Our Jennifer Anderson was there as students witnessed a once-in-a-lifetime lesson in law from the Minnesota Supreme Court.
The highest court of the land.
We have 1 case for argument this morning, the state of Minnesota versus Edstrom.
Landed at Anoka High School this week.
Is that a reasonable rule of law that could be...
The Minnesota Supreme Court convened inside Anoka High School.
An expectation of privacy.
About 850 students watched.
I thought it was really cool, especially as someone who is interested in being a lawyer.
And learned.
I think for anyone who saw it today and wants to go into law, this is really like kind of the best opportunity to look back on and be like, oh yeah, that's kind of how it works.
The Supreme Court heard oral arguments from an actual case inside Anoka's auditorium. Afterwards, the justices fielded dozens of questions from curious students.
We were the first class to go all the way through this school. So
Justice Margaret Chudich turned out to be the surprise headliner of the day when she revealed in grand fashion where her true loyalty lies. Chudich herself is a graduate of Anoka.
I was very proud. I was like, okay, this is my high school and look at these smart kids. Because I thought they really asked very intelligent questions, really thoughtful questions, and meaningful questions. So I was delighted to see that.
I thought it was super interesting. It's kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing.
Junior Kittry Lindbergh came away inspired, which is ultimately the purpose for the traveling court.
When I went to this school, I really didn't think of being a lawyer. It didn't occur to me. And so I'm hoping there are other Margaret Chudiches out there who, saw this and thought, I could do this.
That's always something that's kind of been at the back of my mind, like, oh, that'd be really cool to do that. And now seeing it, it makes my dreams almost like seem more possible.
Since 1995, the Minnesota Supreme Court has taken oral arguments to more than 40 schools throughout the state. This was the first time court convened at Anoka High School. Students from several schools in the Anoka-Hennepin district attended the event. Steve?
All right, Jennifer, thanks. Here's something you don't get every day: free legal advice or a free pass to avoid jail if you have an outstanding warrant. But you can get that and a whole lot more on Law Day, which is just 2 weeks away. Anoka County will once again be opening the courthouse doors to the public for tours, an information fair, and legal service clinics on various topics.
This is the 3rd year in which we're actually offering something a little more meaningful. That is, we not only talk about Law Day and what it means, we not only talk about the theme of Law Day, but we also bring in free legal clinics. So we have volunteer lawyers that will sit down with people to talk about family issues, civil issues, expungement issues, landlord-tenant issues, and they can receive free legal advice.
Law Day will take place on Friday, April 27th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Anoka County Courthouse and Government Center. You can learn more about the event coming up in just a few minutes on CTN Spotlight. Every year, a select group of artists in the North Metro come together to sell their unique creations. The annual North Artist Studio Crawl invites art shoppers into the homes and studios of those who create. CTN's Dan Carpenter checked out last weekend's event.
Could it be that somewhere in every artist's past was a small spark that caught their eye?
You learn new things all the time just from making mistakes.
A craft they would decide to perfect after someone or something fanned that spark into a flame.
Yeah, I was going for chemistry originally, and I walked into the glass studio, and I finished chemistry, but I ended up liking glass more.
Walk around glassmaker Douglas Becker's studio in Bethel, and you'll see the hanging fruit from a labor of love.
I needed an art credit for psychology major, so that's how I got into glass blowing. That's a semi-original glaze there.
For the 21st year, the North Artist Studio Crawl brings the art consumer
I was looking at that one.
and the artist together.
It's that direct, immediate connection, I guess.
This year, more than 24 North Metro artists shared space in their homes, garages, and studios.
We're trying to give people an opportunity to come and see a space where an artist would actually work.
An experience that leaves the shopper with something more than a purchase.
They gotta pick it up, they gotta touch it, they gotta feel it, they gotta see it.
But the knowledge of how a piece of art came to be.
You know, it's like a year-long process, and putting the finish on, you finally get to see what it is.
The art crawl began with just 8 artists, and now includes painters, potters, jewelers, carvers, glass makers, and more.
So it's just kind of a eye-opening experience for the public to let them know where we are and what we do, and you know, it's a good thing.
Returning next April.
Next year it'll be even bigger and better.
Dan Carpenter.
There's a lot of talent right here.
CTN Community Update.
The North Artist Studio Crawl concluded last weekend, but many of the artists continue to sell their work throughout the year. For more information, log on to nascrawl.org.
I brought a lamp that was my grandma's, and so it had kind of fallen apart, and I really wanted it to get put back together because it has a special meaning to me.
Deb was just one of dozens of people who brought in broken items for repair at a free Fixit Clinic last weekend at the Public Works facility. Volunteers attempted to disassemble, troubleshoot, and repair everything from electronics and lamps to vacuums and household appliances. It's all an effort to keep the items out of the trash.
A lot of people are becoming more conscious about what they're putting in the landfill, and this is what one of the main things is we are preventing a lot of items from going to that landfill.
Volunteers also brought in their sewing machines for people who had clothing that needed minor repairs, hemming, or mending. The next Fixit Clinic in Anoka County will take place on Saturday, May 5th at the Springbrook Nature Center. If you're looking for something fun to do this weekend or next, why not check out the Spring Play at Anoka Ramsey Community College?
Can you make no use of your discontent?
I make full use of it.
The theater department is presenting Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing. The play is being performed in the round, which brings the audience up close. The scene is set in no time at the estate of Lord Leonardo. Fans of this classic comedy will find it edgy, where gossip and eavesdropping make love a twisted game.
Benedict does not like the idea of marriage. He's kind of sexist. He's always joking around. He's got like a biting wit. But then he kind of has like a redemption arc from that, where he ends up getting set up by his friends with Beatrice.
She is the cousin of Hero and the niece of Leonardo, who is basically a lord and who is good friends with Don Pedro. And she is very witty, and she doesn't really seem like she wants to have a man. She's kind of her own woman, like a very independent female.
Much Ado About Nothing is being staged this weekend and next in the Performing Arts Center at Anoka Ramsey. Performances begin at 7:30 p.m. Tickets can be purchased in advance online or at the door on the night of the performance. And that's going to bring us to the end of today's show. Enjoy the snow this weekend, and we'll see you back here again next week.